This is the Paracave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leagues Club, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, Bo Cook from Loan Market, BTZD, the official apparel partner of the Paracave Podcast, and the Parramatta Times, the official media partner of the Paracave Podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Paracave.
And yes, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. Troy Warner here, and this is the replay chat that I have with the Duckman on Pulse FM 89.9 FM every Friday night and also Sunday night as well. But this is the Friday night replay chat. And if we talk about the NRL Grand Final that is coming up between the Panthers and the Broncos, we also discuss about the Dally M Awards and the winners there. Kayln Ponga just beating Shaun Johnson in a close count there. We also talk a little bit about the NRLW Grand Final that is also coming up on Sunday between the Gold Coast Titans and the Newcastle Knights, the defending premiers. And yeah, so this is a replay chat of my talk with the Duckman on Pulse FM 89.9 FM. Hope you enjoy it, and it's now over to you, Duckman.
There we go. That was As the Days Go By from Daryl Braithwaite. So some people go, why don't you play Tina Turner, Simply the Best? It's coming up. It's coming up next. After our special guest, Troy Warner from the Paracave Podcast, who is on air with us now, comes on as we do a grand final preview. Troy, how are you going?
I'm going fantastic, Duckman. It's grand final week and only 2 days away until the big dance, so they say. And really looking forward to this game between the top two teams of the regular season.
Yeah, that's right. So I think this is, it's not all that consistent now that the top two teams are making the grand finals all the time. I suppose the last time that happened would have been Panthers versus Melbourne, even when Penrith played South a couple of years ago and Penrith won after Crichton took an intercept off Cody Walker. Still don't think they were the second best side in the comp at the time. So I can't remember if Roosters or Melbourne would have been there or thereabouts. So I'd say Brisbane over the last couple, except for dropping off late last year, I think they've probably been the second best side in the comp for a couple of years now, really. So from a consistency point of view and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, look, it's an amazing story, the Brisbane Broncos. I mean, 2020, they got the wooden spoon. 2022, they were sort of right up there in the top four, I think it was, and then fell away in the latter part of the season and missed the finals. And this year, Kevin Walters has really just got them gelling, and they've really worked well defensively and attack as well, and they're really connecting with each other, and they've played a great brand of football. They've got a couple of new recruits. Reece Walsh has come back to the club from the New Zealand Warriors, who's had an amazing season, a very interesting season at that as well, both playing State of Origin and also for the Broncos. And a suspension earlier on in the season as well. So he's had a great year nevertheless, and the players from last year have just gelled this year and wanting to make those finals, and they played great football, finished second on the table, and now they find themselves in a grand final against the Penrith Panthers.
Yeah, that's right. And they've got plenty of strike weapons too, even in the forwards with like Payne Haas, Tom Flegler, got Pat Carrigan. So that's my outside the roughie. If you're looking for a smoky to get on for the Clive Churchill medal winner, get on that guy, right? And Tom Flegler, I'd be getting on him as the first try scorer. So look outside the box a little bit. There is very good value for money if you're going to have a bet on any of these sports bet things. There's a couple of good things out there. And for Panthers, I'd say it's nearly a lock. You're going to be looking at Brian or Steve Crichton to be the first try scorer. So, I don't know. You'd need to go for something different for Penrith, maybe the first field goal scorer or something, and hope that James Fisher-Harris pops one out and just try to get in touch with him before the game. Let him know you're doing it for charity or something. The charity's your bank account, though.
Yeah, look, it's going to be interesting. Brian Toto, he's got a great finals try-scoring record. I think it's something like 9 tries in his last 5 finals or something like that. He knows how to score a try. Scored a double in last year's grand final. Has scored.
Crichton scored 3 tries in the last 3 grand finals as well. So
yeah, so he scored that intercept try against South Sydney up there at Suncorp Stadium, which broke the South Sydney backs and got premiership to Penrith. Obviously scored one last year as well, so I think he's going for a three-peat of his own of scoring tries in a grand final in his 100th NRL game as well.
Yeah, that's good. So who was the last person to score 3 tries in the grand final? So these are the sorts of things we'll look at on Sunday night as well. I'm thinking Brett Kenny.
He scored...
He did 3 in a row, didn't he? 81, 82, 83?
Yeah, so
82, 83,
he scored a doubles in 81, 82, 83, and he was denied 2 in 86, so that would have made it 8 tries in 4 grand finals. But definitely 2 tries in 81, 82, 83. I can't really remember majority of anyone who has even got close to that record, scoring consecutive tries in grand finals. But a few players have scored a couple in the one game, that's for sure. I mean, Brian Toto did it last year. I think Michael Robinson from Manly, when they beat Melbourne 40-0, I think he scored 3 possibly.
Luke Rooney got 2 in the 2003 grand final as well.
Yep.
So, it's just got... Yeah, there's players out in St George. Who knows? They could have guys who got 5 or 6 in a row when they went through and smashed everyone for 11 grand finals in a row. So in the modern era, I don't think that's going to happen. So if Penrith do win this grand final, do you think Penrith... How many grand finals do you reckon they can make in a row? And do you think that... I think every year that they win another grand final, the value of players increases and they need to lose another couple more. And I think Stephen Crichton is the sort of player, when we look back in 25 years' time at great players at Penrith, he's going to be up there with like Brad Fittler and Brian Girdler for sure.
Yeah, look, I mean, who knows how long this Penrith dynasty can go on for. They started in 2020 making the grand final, and now this is their 4th in a row. Obviously going for the three-peat of premierships in a row. And we've seen the Panthers lose players from over the years as well. Even from that 2021 side, they lost Matt Burton from that side. There was another player as well that they lost last year. It was I think Kurt Capewell.
Kurt Capewell.
From he was playing against the Panthers this weekend. So, and last year they lost Api Koroisau and Viliami Kikau to the Tigers and the Bulldogs. So they're losing a couple of players every year because, as you just said, if they keep on winning competitions, their price tag goes up. So thankfully for them, they've got both the next man mentality. So we've seen in the past when players get injured or suspended that the players that have come in, especially in the halves, like Jack Cogger this year, he's come in for Luai, and Nathan Cleary as well this year, and he's done a job for the Panthers. I think we saw... I'll just try to put my finger on it, who it was last year.
Sean O'Sullivan.
That's right, yeah, the Dolphins halfback this year. He did the job last year when those players were out with origin and injury and the like. So they have the next man mentality, but they also have the benefit of keeping their core players. So Nathan Cleary, he's on about a 5-year contract. I think they're James Fisher-Harris as well. They're looking to lock up Dylan Edwards. I'm not too sure if he's been re-signed. I think he may have, so he's locked up.
I think he said he signed again for 3 or 4 years or something like that.
So he's locked up. They're still in negotiations, I think, until after the grand final about Jerome Luai. So questions are being asked whether he will stay at the Panthers or go somewhere else. There's reports that he has reportedly maybe would take a pay cut just to stay in that same side and win more comps. So they're keeping the key players together at the club. So look, who knows? Might be 5-6 years in a row that they might make the grand final. Could be even longer. You don't know. So unless someone can work out how they play.
So I could see Penrith doing like what Melbourne did from like 2010 to about 2017-18, where they kept the core of their players. So look, Melbourne had to lose Inglis, so Penrith lost a couple of players, not Greg Inglis level, but like very, very good players that are in their first team. Jerome Luai, I'm not too sure if he's going to be able to stay or go. I do know that Penrith got asked the other day, what was your plan with Isaiah Katoa? Well, they wanted to keep him, but the opportunity was too good to go to the Dolphins to play first grade this year, so he's always going to go. If they lose Jerome Luai, they were asked what they would do. They said there's other players coming through. They just need to find another player. That's what you got to do. If Luai stays, ironically, he'll probably get about $800,000, which is good money, but it's less than his market value. Potentially at the moment, if he has a good grand final, and he did an amazing job for Samoa and for Penrith throughout the year as well, I think he could be up around, depending on what club you're going to, the 1.2 million mark, which I'd say if you were going to West Tigers or the Dragons or Canterbury, maybe that is what he's worth.
Yeah, look, it's a very interesting one for Jerome Luai as to what he wants to do. I mean, if Penrith go on to win on the weekend, then that's 3 premierships that he's won. Is that any more of a challenge to stay at Penrith and keep on winning, or is it a challenge to go to another club and try and do that there? He'll probably have to earn less money at Penrith if he stays because of these other players. But, I mean, do you stay for less money, or do you go for the big money at other clubs that they're willing to offer? And we've seen other players go to clubs for big money. I mean, Ben Hunt springs to mind. And look, at the end of the day, you can't blame these players for going to a club if they're willing to offer $1.2 million. I mean, if they're willing to offer that and you think that's a good deal, well then, yeah, why wouldn't you take it? But if he wants to go to another club for that challenge of trying to help them out and maybe win a premiership at another club, and if he does do that, well then that just shows you how good a player he is if he can win a premiership at a different club as well. So, look, back in the old days, the 80s players, they used to say that obviously there wasn't the money around in those days, but they were willing just to stay at their clubs just to win premierships because they were worried about the money because you had to work as well at the time, but they just wanted to win premierships. They wanted to win footy games, so that's why they stayed at the clubs.
Well, look, the best example I've got of a player who left somewhere where they were a fringe first grader in their club, so Penrith have got stacks of them, and it's Penrith one I'm going to bring up here. Mark Carroll left Penrith and went to Souths in 1990 and made the Kangaroo Tour squad for Souths after playing good all year. Went on Kangaroo Tour, played with Souths, didn't win any comps there, they were struggling too. Then went to Manly, then won comps with Manly, and was an outstanding player, had an outstanding career. And he wouldn't have done that if he hadn't left Penrith. So, there's plenty of opportunities there, like Jason Taylor. So, if he stuck with West his whole career, he wouldn't have played in as many semi-finals as what he did. So, with Norths and that stuff, then went to Parramatta and played the grand final and nearly won it. They were so close back in 2001, but yeah, they just missed out. But my question for Jerome Luai, if I was speaking to him now, is what is the challenge? he'll give me a different answer today than what he might on, let's say, Tuesday.
Yeah.
But, all right, if Penrith win and they win 3 in a row, so what is your challenge now? What's
the
motivating you to keep playing, right? So what is it? Do you want to play with your mates and you enjoy the success, or do you want to step out of your comfort zone and perhaps go down as one of their great players somewhere? Like when Penrith signed Sivan Asiva from Brisbane, I never thought he was going to come to Penrith. And then he did. He jeopardised winning comps with the Broncos to beat the Panthers because we weren't that good at the time. And then he helped turn it around. So, and Mitchell Pearce did the same. He left the Roosters and went to the Knights and helped turn the Knights around. And ultimately now they're headed in the right direction. So it was a tough work in progress for him, and some people it is. But
who knows? He might go for the big money at the Bulldogs and link up again with Kikau and Crichton and Burton and Luai and.
Well, I'm telling you, I keep on hearing this stuff in the background that the Roosters are trying to sign him too, and they're just going, "Oh, we're struggling. We need to do a rebuild." Like, number one, how have they got the money? So they keep on quoting it. They're dropping Suoli'i, but like surely that's not enough on its own to be signing Luai on big money.
Well, there's talk about Angus Crichton going to rugby as well, so there's a little bit more money freed up. But we all know the Roosters are usually connected to everybody.
Yeah, well, that'd be I could actually genuinely see that happen. I could see that being a fit. I could see that being more of a fit than going to West. Although West Tigers, I don't know, they're going to need to bring some extra players in, but they need a guy like Jerome Luai to bring extra players in. So he has to be prepared to go there with some all right players, but some guys that are not stacking up at the moment, and be prepared to maybe come last again to help build something. So, yeah, what's the challenge that's motivating him? I don't know. So at the moment, he's pretty good at poker. He's keeping his cards close to his chest, not giving anything away.
Yeah, I think that decision will be made after the grand final and after. Yeah, if I don't think he'll play for Samoa in the end of season tests. I think he'll get his shoulder right for next year, and I think maybe the decision will be made after the grand final.
Yeah. So the Dally M Awards the other night. So Kayln Ponga won it by 1 point from Sean Johnson. Do you think the media jumped on board the Kayln Ponga bandwagon when they started winning games and that sort of stuff, and maybe felt sorry? So this is the perception out there from Warriors fans. They feel like people jumped on Kayln Ponga's bandwagon and felt sorry for him. I thought Kayln Ponga was the best fullback of the comp this year, probably even on par with Dylan Edwards, or maybe surpassing Dylan Edwards. And the next closest would be Reece Walsh, right? So I think he's probably deserved it. And Tamika Upton, she won the Women's Player of the Year as well, which is outstanding. What do you think of both of them nominations?
Yeah, look, congratulations to both of them. I think congratulations to Tamika Upton. She's been outstanding this year for the Newcastle Knights at fullback in the NRLW, and she's going to bring that experience into this weekend's grand final against the Gold Coast Titans. So, and I think she was a deserved winner of that medal. In answer to the NRL, with Kayln Ponga winning it. Got my words mixed up there, but winning it. He now becomes the third Newcastle Knights player to win it, and I was listening before, and the player that you were thinking of, or trying to think of, was Danny Badiris in 2004. He won that medal. So Kayln becomes the third Newcastle Knights player to win it. And look, there was that... I guess you could call it uproar from most of New Zealand about Sean Johnson not winning it, and rugby league fans as well. The thing is, though, there's a maximum of 6 points for each game. They've changed the voting system this year. Instead of just 3-2-1, it's been up to 6 points. And I think, look, Kayln played in a team. They won 10 in a row, and he was pretty much the star of the show in every one of those 10 victories. The difference with Sean Johnson is he played, I think, about 5 or 6 extra games than Kayln, but he also had players like Adam Fanua-Blake, Charles Nicoll-Klokstad, Dallin Watene-Zelezniak, Tohu Harris in his team as well, that were taking points away from him as well. So he wasn't necessarily... He had man of the match games, but he wasn't getting a full 6 points in every single game because you had those other players that were taking the points off, and it showed that Kayln was the only one only Newcastle player in the team of the... Bradman Best, I think, was the centre. So he would have taken a few points off Kayln here and there, but Sean Johnson, he had a magnificent season, probably had his best season in 5 years, 10 years even. So a lot of people thought he was gone this year. He thought he might not even play this year. He didn't have the desire, I don't think, to play this year, but he spoke to Andrew Webster and thought, I'll give it another crack, and what a season he had, and it just showed with the Warriors making a prelim final. So look, I think any voting system you're going to have in these sort of awards, it's going to be... people aren't going to be happy with it and not happy with the outcome. So I don't know what the perfect voting system is. So, that's my take on it anyway. I mean, I was a little bit surprised that Nico Hines came third, I think. So
I know. So that's what I'm surprised about a little bit. So so rugby league's a little bit, so from the point scoring system, unfortunately, it's a little bit like the Super Bowl like this. People recognise the superstars, right? So the superstars, what they do gets recognised more. Kayln Ponga was playing in the side with only 2 or 3 guys that were really superstars, so including himself. So if he was making them fire, and he was making them fire, you could see it was him. It wasn't the whole side. Yeah, he was getting the side up. But when he wasn't there, you could tell because the side they were long-suffering. So when he was back, you could see, this is what Kayln's doing. It was very obvious. Andrew Webster, he got Coach of the Year too, didn't he? So congratulations to him. Although people are saying they reckon Trent Robinson should have got it. So I reckon they've got to get off the peyote, seriously.
Yeah, well, I mean, see, the thing with Coach of the Year, it's a very interesting one. I mean, people say, well, maybe they should award that after the season for the team that wins a premiership. But, I mean, it's expected of coaches like Ivan Cleary, Craig Bellamy, Trent Robinson to get their teams into a grand final or into the semi-finals. It's sort of pretty much expected. Someone like Andrew Webster or Kevin Walters even, he was probably maybe a little bit unlucky as well not to win it. But like those two, their teams probably weren't expected to go as good as what they expected this year. So a lot of fans were saying, the New Zealand Warriors, they came 15th last year. They won't make the 8 this year, and they made a prelim. So, and the same with the Broncos. They didn't even make the 8 last year, and now they were threatening for a minor premiership. They didn't get it, but they were threatening right up there, Penrith, for a minor premiership. So that's my view anyway.
Yeah, well, you're 100% right. So, like, people saying, Ivan Cleary should get it. No, he shouldn't. But he had the best side, and, like, if you could have given Benji Marshall and Robbie Farah a side that Ivan Cleary had, and I'm pretty sure they would be able to get nearly the same outcome with the team, because when you've got quality players, you've got quality players. Yeah, there's differences with the coaches and little things they do differently, but the quality players are still quality players. So if you took 1 or 2, if you took 2 of Penrith's good players, so let's say leave Penrith with their best 3 or whatever, whoever you work that out as, and take 2 of the next best 10 or the next best 10, then distribute 2 into West, 2 into St George Illawarra, 2 into this, you will notice that those players will be good in those new clubs they go to, because that's just the nature of those guys.
In saying that too, I mean, making 4 grand finals in a row is a pretty mean feat. So, and he's been the coach for all of those. So, I mean, there was that point that maybe he should have got that as well, got that award as well.
Yeah, I think if Penrith do something special, if they made it again next year, well, then you might really start to be going down with like the good sides, Parramatta of the 80s and So Penrith at the moment, I would be comparing them, like I said, to the Melbourne Storm side in the early 2000, or like 2013 to 18, 19, when they were really carving it up, and probably even, I reckon Canberra late 80s, early 90s. They were like what Penrith are now. If they were in a similar position, a couple of real big key players. As soon as they lost Ricky Stewart and Bradley Clyde, I don't think Canberra were the same anymore after that. So a big losses. So that would be the equivalent of that would be Penrith losing Isaiah Yeo and probably Luai or something like that at one time. So still a lot of good players coming through, but yeah. We'll kick on here and look at the NRLW. So we know that the Titans are up in their first grand final, which is fantastic, up against Tamika Upton's and Knights team, right? So this Knights team are very good. Can Gold Coast, do you think Gold Coast can pull one out of the fire and get the win? I'm hoping they do. I might have a slap on it.
Gamble responsibly.
I think they can. Yeah, I like the upset thing, but it makes it interesting and exciting. I'd love to see Penrith win 3 in a row because no one's done it since the Eels. So other than that, everything else I like about rugby league tells me that it's in the best interest of the game if Brisbane won the grand final.
Yeah, no, I like seeing the underdogs win usually as well. So I wouldn't be too disappointed if the Titans get over the Knights in the NRLW, but it just depends on the day. Grand finals are a strange beast. It just depends on the day. If you turn up on the day and do your job and the other team doesn't, well, then you're going to win. And we saw that last week with the Titans against the Roosters. The Roosters went in favourites, star-studded side, and the Titans beat them to get into the grand final. So, look, they'll be full of confidence. They've got Origin players in their side, internationals in their side. So they've played some pretty good footy this year, and they've got a few players that made the team of the year as well. So they won't be easy beats. They'll give the Knights a real big challenge in this game on Sunday. In saying that, the Newcastle Knights, well, they're the defending premiers in the NRLW. They're going for a back-to-back title. They've got the Dalian Player of the Year in Tamika Upton. Jesse Southwell at halfback as well has had a great season as well. And they've got representative players in their side as well. So, look, I think Newcastle will get the job done, but you can't underestimate the Gold Coast Titans, and they may get their first major competition win in the NRLW, along as well as the NRL as well. So it should be a cracker of a game.
Yeah, absolutely. Troy, what do you got coming up this weekend? So obviously Rugby League Sunday, and hopefully we're catching up for a chat Sunday morning about everything rugby league. So that will go to air on Sunday night here. So everyone's going to hear what we think about the NRL grand final and we'll find stats, some interesting things about grand finals and grand final anomalies. We'll try to find those ones with players scoring stacks of tries and people getting sent off or anything like that.
Yeah, so this weekend got the father-in-law's birthday on the weekend, so we're gathering up before the grand final and celebrating that one, which will be pretty good, I think, to get the family together and watch that one. Over the weekend, I'll have a replay of this chat, and also got the Ian Roberts episode out now as well. So I'll be putting that one up on YouTube as well, and it's available now through Apple and Spotify.
Yeah, there you go, everybody. You can catch that all live on the Paracay podcast there. Troy loves doing it all. So, Troy, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it.
Not a
and
problem.
Look forward to having a chat with you on Sunday morning.
Yeah, look forward to it. Thanks, Duckman.
Yeah, no worries.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Paracay podcast. See you next time.